evening and welcome to this special edition of Action 4 News, a political forum with the candidates from Texas House District 39. We are live from the very beautiful Weslaco Business Visitors and Event Center here in Weslaco. I'm Ryan Wolf, your co-moderator, joined by Steve Taylor, the Rio Grande Guardian, and our other partner, Sergio Sanchez with KURV Radio. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight for this political forum and helping out. Also, Act Now, helping to get the vote out as early voting is underway through November 2nd. The general election right around the corner on November 6th. Be sure to vote. You can also follow us on Twitter. We're asking the hashtag RGVote and also KGBT. And we thank our listeners on valleycentral.com where we are streaming live once again, and you can also listen in on KURV Radio. The candidates have agreed to the rules before the start of tonight. Also, the audience knows to be respectful and to hold their applause until the end of the political forum. Right now, we're going to talk about the Texas House District 39 map. Take a look. It's the following cities: Mercedes, Progreso, Weslaco, Donna, Alamo, and San Juan. We want to thank the candidates for District 39 for coming out today. Republican Joel de los Santos is from Weslaco, and incumbent Democrat Armando Martinez of Weslaco. Thank you both for being here as we begin our political forum. The general questions will have a minute and 30 response time. Quick fire questions, you'll know when they come up, be 45 seconds, and you'll be able to say anything you want at the end, depending on how many questions we get off is how much time you'll have for your closing remarks. So let's start right now with Sergio Sanchez, KURV Radio, with the first question, a minute 30 response time.
Thanks. The first question to Mr. Joel de los Santos, and it deals with entitlement abuse, entitlement fraud, on the issue of Medicaid and Medicare. How do you propose we clean up the Valley's image?
There's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse, and that's one of the main problems here in our district, and we need a solution. If I'm elected as a representative, one of the main things that I'm going to make sure is we stop this fraud, waste, and abuse. And it's affecting us because higher taxes. Anytime there's abuse, we have more higher taxes. We can't have any more higher taxes.
And same question to Representative Martinez on Medicaid and Medicare fraud. How do you propose that the state of Texas clean up the Valley's image and reform these programs?
Well, thank you very much, Sergio. First of all, I want to appreciate that question for all of you all coming out tonight. You know, that has been a big issue. That has been a question on Medicaid fraud here in the Valley. Of course, the Texas legislature does not regulate any type of Medicare because that's a federal program. But as far as Medicaid, every session we have always passed legislation that addresses any type of fraud in order to stop that and to curb that. Have you seen, and as everybody has seen here, that there has been a lot of crackdown on your DMEs and your doctor's offices in regard to cracking down on that type of Medicaid and Medicare fraud. But if you look at it directly, we've done everything we can. We're going to continue to do that and continue to support legislation that cracks down on that issue so we can address the issues here in District 39 in the Rio Grande Valley.
Our second question, again, a minute and 30 response time. Steve Taylor, Rio Grande Guardian.
And this question is for you, Mr. Martinez. There have been reports of widespread fraud when it comes to food stamps. Are these reports fair, and what will you do about it?
Well, it's the same thing that we've always done, and thank you so much, Steve, for that question. It is the same thing that we've always done. Every session, we have always fought against any type of fraud. We've passed legislation, and that is bipartisan commitment by both parties trying to pass that legislation to make sure that we address it. Now, in regard to that, yes, we do understand, and we have heard about those issues that have come into play. That's why every legislative session we do pass legislation in order to address those types of issues, and we're going to continue to do that, work bipartisanly so that we can get that done.
And the same question for you, Mr. Del Santos. There have been reports of widespread fraud when it comes to food stamps. Are these reports fair, and what will you do about it?
Yes, I see it. I see it when I go to the groceries, and there is fraud. How to solve it? Simple. You have to have some type of identification. I've been in foreign countries where actually you pay for something, you show your identification card, has a built-in chip, basically tells you who you are. And it's really easy just to pass that little card, the Lone Star card, to somebody else, have the PIN number, and there's no questions asked. So I definitely we need some type of identification, especially with picture and especially with a embedded chip on the actual card.
Thank you for that. We're going to begin our quick fire round, 45 seconds for each of the candidates. Sergio Sanchez, KURV Radio.
Much of the school year is spent on standardized testing. Do you think there's a better way to monitor a student's progress, Mr. Joel de los Santos?
Right now, this past legislative, I know we took a big cut. It was a $5.4 billion cut. It's affected all of us. I see it as an educator in the classroom. I've seen that most schools have not done AYP. We're failing. We need to make sure that we get that up to par. And we have to focus more on phonics. That is the key. That is the foundation. When you get the foundation, you'll have a solid foundation. You won't have any cracks, and that education will not fail us.
Same question to you, Representative Martinez. Much of the school year spent on standardized testing. Do you think there's a better way to monitor a student's progress?
Well, I believe there is a much better way to monitor the student's progress. You know, my wife being an educator herself and always talking about the testing in the classroom and the constant testing, and of course, you know, not only the children suffer from that, but the parents as well. So the way that we address that is going back to basics, going back to your arithmetic, your reading, your writing, the important things that address those issues so our students can succeed. And that's how I believe we address it.
Thank you for that. We have another quick fire question. This one, 45 seconds. Steve Taylor, Rio Grande Guardian.
And this question, first of all for you, Mr. Martinez, what do you feel is the one weakness you've seen in your opponent?
Well, Steve, you know, actually, I don't want to talk about my opponent. I'm here to talk about the successes that we have had and the opportunities that we've created here in District 39. So,
Not just one?
I'd rather not talk about my opponent, but if you want to ask me a question of what success and opportunities we've created for District 39, I'll be happy to share that with you, because I believe you can see that throughout what we've done, you know, whether it be a $10 million for our Citrus Center, whether it be $400,000 for the Nature Center, whether it be grants for the Boys and Girls Club, being an accessible and visible representative, that's exactly what we've brought.
Thank you. And the same question for you, Mr. De Los Santos. What do you feel is the one weakness in your opponent?
Like Representative Monda said, I like to talk about my opponent, but one issue that I want to make sure is, where are the jobs? You know, he's been there for 4 terms. Where's the job creation? Where is the grants, education grants? There's so much information that is out there that he has not done. And one of the questions that I always ask is, you know, what has he done? And that's basically, I get a blank response from a lot of constituents that I've talked to.
Well, let's give the representative a chance to respond to that. Would you like to say anything about that?
No, I'll just reiterate on the topic that I just spoke about. When you look at $10.4 million for a Citrus Center, that is what we brought. When you look at $400,000 for a Nature Center, when you look at fighting against education budgets being reduced, that is what we fought for. When we fought for our district, for transportation, economic development, healthcare that's important for the people of Texas, that is what we've done. All you have to do is open your eyes and look around District 39 and you'll find it. Especially if you're from here, you can appreciate it.
Thank you for that. This next question, 1:30 response time from both of the candidates. It has to do with education. Mr. Joel de los Santos, you'll begin this question. Do you support vouchers for education, and what would it do to public schools?
I support vouchers. I've looked at it, into it. It would put our district, especially our school district schools, in a challenge, because right now, like I said, phonics, we need phonics. We need phonics, we need more reading, and it's not being done. We're doing too much standardized testing, and it's not showing any results. So with a voucher, you have a parent that has a choice to take that student to a school that's improving, and also with the other schools that are low performing, I guarantee you they'll put more emphasis on their teachers, and they'll start respecting their teachers more and weed out, you know, the rest of the teachers.
Representative Martinez, same question for you.
Thank you, Ryan, and I think that's an excellent question. First and foremost, I am against vouchers. I'm against pulling our money out of our public school system to funnel it into a private school system. You know, back in 2005, when I was my very first legislative session, we had bipartisan support against vouchers. I can remember Dr. Griggs, who was a Republican. He used to be a superintendent up in Arlington, and Garland. And one of the things that he said, and it was very, very touching, he said, I hear a suction of people removing the education from our public schools, taking the money out of public education and putting it into private schools for people that can just set up shop and not teach our children. I will not support a voucher because I am a product of public school. I'm proud of being a product of public school, and I think we should reinvest our dollars into public school so our children can have an opportunity.
Mr. De Los Santos, anything you would like to say in response?
Well, I'm a product also of this fine school district. It's always, I was brought up with stand and deliver. Now, there's 21st century learning. We have 20th century teachers, and we have some first century teachers. And we're trying to get into that gap, this new vision. And I see it by the last legislative taking the $5.4 billion out has affected us. The only solution is a voucher. Because if you have a student, your child that's still in low-performing school, it's going to affect them in the long run.
Tell me what you thought about the candidates' responses right now on Twitter, #RGVote. Find us at KGBT, also KURV Radio and the Rio Grande Guardian. We'd love to hear your responses. And we thank our viewers on Action 4 News and those listening in on valleycentral.com and KURV Radio. Education, a big topic. Let's turn right now to health care. Question right now from Sergio Sanchez, KURV Radio.
The governor has cut funding to some women's health care services, from birth control to screenings. Do you support the cuts, yes or no? What would you do differently? The question to Representative Martinez.
First of all, I don't support the cuts, especially when they affect women's health care. I think there's so many women that need access to health care. There's so many women that need the mammograms, that need their cervical, exams. And there's so many issues that affect. It's about access. It's about these women having access. I don't support any type of cuts to women's health care, regardless. I think women should be treated the same as as everybody else, and we should not make those cuts that affect them directly. I think everybody should have access, especially being in a state that's ranked last in uninsured population. So it's about access, reinvesting those funds in access so women can have access to health care.
Same question to Mr. Joel De Los Santos. The governor has cut some funding to women's health care services, from birth control to screenings. Do you support the cuts? What would you do differently?
One thing that I wouldn't do, I'm not going to take one program's money and put it into another program's money. When you do that, you raise the taxes, and I wouldn't do that.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you for that. We have a question now from our viewers that we're going to turn it over to Steve Taylor, Rio Grande Guardian. It'll begin with you. Mr. De Los Santos first. You have 1:30 to respond. Steve?
Yes, and it's another healthcare question. Last legislative session, the legislature introduced managed care into the Rio Grande Valley. As a result, a lot of pharmacists, independent pharmacists have closed. Physicians have talked about leaving the area, closing their business. What will you do next session about managed care?
The first thing I would have to do is look at all the businesses that left. And one of the things, we need to make sure that the businesses that took off, make sure that new jobs come in. And one of the things is that I've seen with that is with all this Medicaid and health care that have affected us, there's a lot of in-between-the-line stuff that I really don't understand, especially with this new Medicare plan.
And the same question for you, Representative Martinez. Managed care introduced last session.
Thank you, Steve. And that's something I voted against, and the Valley delegation voted against. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very important that we understand what managed care has been doing to the Valley. Our demographics in the Valley are completely different than the rest of the state. Over 80% of our population is Medicaid, okay? So a lot of our physicians see patients that are on Medicaid. Another thing is that over 30 pharmacies have closed because of these HMOs, because of the reduction in their reimbursement rates, because of PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers who have come up and they have set the rates. So our independent pharmacies have suffered. What happens when an independent pharmacist suffers and they close their doors? You lose jobs. You lose jobs. And those people depend on that check every day, especially down here in the Valley. We depend on jobs. How do we create that? How do we create jobs? We reinvest into healthcare, we change the managed care program, and we introduce rules that are going to change exactly what was passed this legislative session. So managed care organizations can come in and place their own rules so that within 30 days, all they have to do is inform the public. That is wrong, it has hurt us, and we need to change it.
Let's switch questions right now. We have a quick fire question, 45 seconds for the response time. We're going to begin with you, Representative. What would your priority be this legislative session as state lawmaker?
First of all, the priority is education. We need to reinvest our money back into education. There was over $4 billion cut out of public education. Why is education important? Because we want to make sure that our students are educated and are healthy so we can have a strong, healthy, and educated workforce. First of all, it starts with an education. We provide opportunity. By providing opportunity, you open doors for students. But that opportunity comes through the education. So what do? We come back, we reinvest those $4 billion that were cut. We focus on education, having a healthy and educated workforce, so that way they can go out and have jobs and become a success in society.
Same question to you, Mr. De Los Santos.
Yes, we need to focus more on skill trade jobs. And how do we do that? We need to bring that back into the schools, starting off with the middle school to the high school, where having technical jobs, for instance, here's a prime example. If you have a Mercedes-Benz, I don't have a Mercedes-Benz, but if you take it for an oil change, you can have a mechanic, but not a mechanic, a technical specialist, dressed in a lab coat, all white, looks like a doctor. By the time he's finished with your car, that Mercedes, it's going to cost you about a good $500. You probably want to get a medical plan for your car or get rid of the car. But we need to bring those types of skilled trades back into the education so we can get this workforce going, this educated workforce. But it also starts with phonics, arithmetics.
We have another quick fire question, 45 seconds response time. Sergio Sanchez, KURV Radio.
All right, gentlemen, one word answer. Dallas Cowboys or Houston Texans?
Dallas Cowboys.
Go ahead.
Texans.
I heard Cowboys over here from the representative. All right, so now I know who you would choose in the event that Texas would legalize gambling. Are you in favor of legalizing gambling in Texas? Mando Martinez.
Absolutely. I think our voters have spoken. I think in our last election, they have voted unanimously so that we could have gambling. But of course, gambling that's going to be reinvested into education and healthcare for what's right. Now, we need to make sure that our voters have that choice to make that decision on what they want. And if they voted for gambling, we need to give them that opportunity to come out and support it. And that's what I do support.
And Mr. De Los Santos, legalizing gambling in Texas, yes or no?
Well, if you look at South Padre Island, it's an opportunity. It's another Atlantic city. If you bring gambling, you bring revenues, you bring more revenues to help out education or any type of cuts that we have in our district. I support gambling.
All right, Steve Taylor, Rio Grande Guardian, has a content question, 1:30 for the response time. Steve?
And this will go first of all to you, Mr. De Los Santos. The UT system has been planning a 4-year medical school for the Valley for some time, and now there are reports that the Texas A&M system wants to do the same. What will you do next session if you're elected to move that along, and how do you ensure unity among the Valley delegation when there's two competing systems in play?
That's really good. I would focus more on the high schools. I know going back to skills and trades, we need to make sure that we get more skilled people in medical fields. And so I know the high school has like what they call a HOSA, and we need to put more money into these type of high schools to make sure that when they go into the university, that they have a better product.
And the same question for you, Mr. Martinez. The UT system planning a 4-year medical school in the Rio Grande Valley. Texas A&M system perhaps wants to do the same. How do you ensure loyalty among the legislative delegation next session, and how do you help improve our chances in Austin?
Well, great question, Steve. And first of all, competition is healthy. So why not only have one when you can have two, medical schools down in the Valley? We've supported a medical school, and I think it's us working together in order to achieve that. I think it's trying to figure out a way that would be much more beneficial for the Valley. The Valley doesn't have any type of law schools or medical schools south of San Antonio, this would be an excellent opportunity for us. Not only would it be an opportunity for education, but it would be an opportunity for jobs, job creation, and of course, to be an economic stimulus down in the valley. So I would support any way, not only to have one, but to have two, and to work together with the Valley delegation to try and figure out a way that we can coordinate our efforts to bring this to the valley and make it a reality.
Representative, this next question will go to you for a quick-fire question, 45-second response time from Sergio Sanchez, KURV Radio.
Representative, do you support charter schools?
Charter schools, well, you know, charter schools are public schools. They are considered public schools. IDEA is an excellent school, and that has been an issue. We have always supported charter schools and what they've done and what they do to the community. And especially for the students, they provide more opportunity for our students. They work hard, the families get involved, and that is important. But of course, we always support our public schools. And even though our charter schools are considered public schools, we need to focus on that and make sure they follow the same type of regulations that our public school system does as a charter school.
Same question to Mr. De Los Santos. Do you support charter schools?
Yes, I do. I think we need more magnet schools and charter schools in our district. I know that the growing population is getting bigger down here. District 39 is attracting more, especially Weslaco. We have good, fine public school systems, but we also need to challenge some of the kids that are in our school systems, and by putting them in magnet schools, that would be one of the key solutions.
Education, a hot topic here tonight, that's for sure, and we appreciate both the candidates. Now it's their opportunity for their closing remarks. Both will have 1 minute to say anything they'd like now to the voters before they hit the polls. We'll begin with Mr. Joel De Los Santos first.
I just want to say, and I'm an educator, I'm a father, and I'm a husband. And I'm here just fighting for our district. We need to make sure that, you know, we bring good education resources down to District 39. We get job creations. We also focus on skill and trades. That's the only way we're going to get more jobs down here, get big corporations down here, because if we don't have a skilled person, those big companies are not going to come down here. Thank you.
Thank you. Closing remarks now from Representative Martinez.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Ryan, Steve, and Sergio. You know, Sergio and I have a history together, and he's just a wonderful person. And all of y'all, of course, our Action for News, thank you very much, the city of Weslaco. And let me tell you how important and how smart Action for News is, because not only are they doing this in Weslaco, but they're doing this in the district I represent up in Austin, so I want to thank you very much. But ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to be able to represent you up in Austin as your state representative for District 39. For 4 terms, we've worked so hard on education, healthcare, economic development, transportation, the issues that are important to you. During that time, I've been an accessible, visible representative, somebody that takes you into account. People can call our office, we're there. We answer the call. We've helped so many people. We're going to continue to do it. We're going to continue to be your voice in Austin as your state representative. Thank you very much. Thank everybody for being here tonight. May God bless you, and may God bless Texas.
A 4's number 1 would have sealed the deal on that one right there. Thank you both to our candidates. We appreciate that. You can clap. This is all about educating the voters before they hit the polls. Of course, early voting is underway right now and continues to November 2nd. Make your voice count. It is so important as we head into the general election on November 6th. For polling locations valley-wide, head to valleycentral.com. You can get that information online, as well as candidate vignettes from other races if you would like to see that as well. We want to thank Joel De Los Santos. Thank you for taking the time to be here to speak to our listeners and our viewers, as well as Mando Martinez. Thank you for being here as well. A very spirited discussion tonight, as well as the Weslaco Chamber of Commerce for this beautiful venue tonight. And Steve Taylor with the Rio Grande Guardian. Final remarks.
Well, I think we've had 2 very good forums this evening. We can see that all the 4 candidates are very passionate. They want to get to Austin. They want to work for the Valley. Now it's up to the voters.
Sergio Sanchez, KURV Radio, co-moderator again. Tell me what you thought about tonight's debate.
And Texan fan, and I would say that for all those candidates who Channel 4 called and that we called to participate in debates, and you declined the opportunity, you see you have nothing to fear. This is a great public service, and I hope that next time, next election cycle, you can show up and participate in these debates.
Yes. Again, your voice counts. We need you to hit the polls. We thank Act Now for being out here today. They were helping to get the early vote out. It runs until November 2nd, so it is so important to get out there. We thank Weslaco PD, the Weslaco Chamber again, and Steve Taylor, we talked about this earlier. We knew education was going to be a hot topic. Did you think that they hit the mark?
Education is a very big topic, as is healthcare. What's the state of the budget going to be next session? Those are big ticket items, and these people are going to have to solve, they've got some issues to solve if they get elected.
And same with you, Sergio. What did you think?
Well, it's a tight budget, and there's other things that we could literally keep talking for another half hour or hour or so. Transportation issues, toll roads, the state of Texas spending money on border security. All these issues will likely get plenty of play in Austin come next year.
We'll have a complete wrap-up tonight on Action 4 News at 10. We thank KURV Radio, the Rio Grande Guardian, and everybody for participating, especially online. I'm Ryan Wolf. For everybody here at Action 4 News, hope to see you tonight for Action 4 News at 10. Have a great night.